Hello everyone, today we're looking at the Sony A7R. This is the original. I bought it back in 2013 when it was first released. This is not the copy that I had back then. I repurchased it recently and I wanted to tell you about it. This was the world's first full frame mirrorless camera. I didn't keep it back then. I kept it for maybe a year or two till the second one came out. There's a bunch of little things that it fixed, but we'll get into that. This is 11 years old, this camera, when it was released. And it's honestly, you can still find it new, which is kind of interesting. The body weighs 465 grams, about 16 ounces. It's made of metal and plastic. You can see that. The camera marked the beginning of Sony's crazy, full frame just push, where they just were releasing a camera, I think, every year, and they still are doing that. I mean, even with the newer A7C, which is their smallest, they've only managed to shave like 30 grams off this body weight. Also, the viewfinder here to me is still way more comfortable than the A7C, which I've also owned, which we put the IR here and it's a little tiny thing. So this paired with a budget lens like this Rokinon 35 2.8 gives you an amazing, super light package. This lens is 85 grams. So together, that's 550 grams for this little, very light, full frame, 36 megapixel, very capable camera. Now let's talk about the downsides, because being an 11-year-old camera does have some issues. This shutter model is one that Sony only used in this camera, and you can hear that loud slap of a shutter. After this, I think they improved it, or they made it quieter. But if you compare this to a camera which I love, which is the Fuji X100 series, which has a leaf shutter, which means you can hand hold it like even almost to like a tenth of a second or even less sometimes. With this one, you can't. So that's a limitation that you have if you're going this route. I would say that 1/50th of a second is the best you can do comfortably hand holding it, because the shutter is so slapping so hard on this very light body. This isn't a major problem. I do love to experiment and I love to shoot things, with a slow shutter. But you'll see that there's a lot of images that I have created with this. Now, even on a tripod, this shutter slaps so hard that depending on the lens you've got on this camera, you might run into some trouble. As for video, this camera was, the videographers complained about it because there was some aliasing in the image. I shot plenty of videos with it, but if you want to know, I'm going to switch to that right now. And I don't have a tripod for it. I can't tell whether I'm sorry, I don't have a remote for it. I can't tell whether I'm in the frame or not. So I'm going to go back around and lift it a little. It looks like maybe I was a little bit too high or low, but this gives you an idea at least of what it looks like when you're recording stuff at home. I think it's pretty damn okay for video. Not really an issue for me for the videos I create. I don't have that kind of standard, but anyway, you can let me know. Battery life on this camera is not exciting. Real world, probably like 200 shots, but the batteries are not expensive and they're tiny, as with most cameras that have battery issues. So I wouldn't be concerned too much about that, but yeah, I would buy a pack of 2 batteries and a charger. Rebuying this camera made me realize that the obsession with having the latest gear is a bit of a futile endeavor. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the latest tech, but when I look back at the images I've taken with this camera, it makes me wonder why I would ever have spent $2,000 for a camera body to get very, very similar, almost identical to most people images. So if you need all the other features that newer cameras provide, great. If you find something that's affordable, great. But I want everyone to watch this. And so think about, if you're in the market for something that's budget friendly, lightweight, full frame, you might consider this camera. If you need slow shutter and a handheld, then maybe this is not the camera for you. But if you have an A7R, or if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the bottom of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and have a great day. Bonus: if you watched the last video, which I don't think many did, but the audio was horrible, and that is all thanks to these Hollyland lav mics, wireless. I tried them for the first time in that video, and they got such good reviews from some people that I didn't really think about it. I didn't watch the audio honestly before I posted it, and I realized quickly after. And sorry about that. I'm using a Tonar USB, rather cheapo USB mic that plugs right into the computer, but I can adjust the audio levels right in the settings, and I'm recording with a free software called Audacity. So there you go.